You don't dare stay here. You don't trust yourself. Oh, do it again. I like it. Do it again.
Welcome to the bold and provocative world of early 1930s cinema. Today, we'll explore 10 of the most shocking and fascinating pre-code films, from chilling stories of mad scientists to daring independent heroines. Discover how these movies stunned audiences and left a lasting mark on Hollywood history.
Jump in bed. I'll bet old Hatchetface heard you.
Oh, I can't, not with that.
1. Island of Lost Souls, 1932. Island of Lost Souls, inspired by H.G. Wells's novel The Island of Dr. Moreau, follows Edward Parker, a shipwreck survivor rescued by a freighter carrying captured animals. These animals are being transported to a remote South Seas island, which belongs to the mysterious Dr. Moreau, played by Charles Laughton. Dr. Moreau conducts shocking experiments, transforming animals into human-like beings. Parker becomes trapped on the island and witnesses the disturbing process in the so-called House of Pain, where failed experiments are discarded. While the original novel focused on ethical questions of vivisection, the film adds darker themes, including social hierarchies and controversial ideas of eugenics. It presents a chilling look at the dangers of unchecked scientific ambition. Upon release, Island of Lost Souls caused controversy. The British Board of Film Censors banned it in 1933, and it was rarely seen for many years. Decades later, the film was restored in 1996 and received a PG rating, allowing new audiences to experience this early classic of science fiction and horror. 2. Murders in the Zoo, 1933. Murders in the Zoo is a thriller directed by A. Edward Sutherland and co-written by Philip Wiley. It tells the story of Eric Gorman, a wealthy big-name hunter played by Lionel Atwill, whose jealousy over his younger wife, Evelyn, drives him to violence. The film begins with Gorman attacking one of Evelyn's admirers while on an expedition in French Indochina, a shocking scene that sets the tone for the story. Back in the United States, Gorman continues his deadly quest for revenge, using inventive and dangerous methods rather than relying solely on wild animals. His actions reveal a descent into serial killings, culminating in a fatal encounter with one of the zoo's exotic creatures. Atwill's performance earned praise for its intensity and suspense, solidifying his reputation as a master of dark, dramatic roles. Despite facing censorship for its grim content, Murders in the Zoo remains a gripping early example of the horror thriller genre, blending suspense, exotic settings, and human obsession. 3. Ingagi, 1930. Ingagi is often cited as a predecessor to King Kong, presenting itself as a documentary about Sir Hubert Winstead's travels in Africa and his encounters with exotic animals and a remote tribe. In truth, much of the film was staged on Los Angeles backlots, with fabricated creatures like the tortadillo and stock footage from earlier productions, creating a chaotic and misleading narrative. Despite its lack of authenticity, Ingagi became a commercial success during the Depression, attracting audiences with its sensational story and exotic imagery. The film's climactic scenes, suggesting ritual ceremonies involving gorillas, were particularly popular, even though they were staged. Today, Ingagi is remembered as a controversial yet notable example of early Hollywood's fascination with adventure, spectacle, and the Lost World theme. 4. Murders in the Rue Morgue, 1932. Murders in the Rue Morgue was part of the early 1930s trend of films featuring apes as dangerous or unpredictable characters, inspired by safari documentaries and newsreels. Bela Lugosi stars as Dr. Miracle, a mad scientist who attempts to prove humanity's connection to apes through shocking experiments, including injecting ape blood into human subjects and seeking a bride for his ape, Eric. Lugosi's portrayal blends menace and obsession, making Dr. Miracle a dark and unsettling figure. At its release, the film was considered too intense for younger audiences, with critics calling it morbid and provocative, prompting censors to cut it down to about an hour. Today, Murders in the Rue Morgue remains a notable example of early horror cinema, reflecting fascination with science and the boundaries of cinematic storytelling. 5. Maniac, 1934. Maniac, also known as Maniac, is a notorious pre-code exploitation film directed by Dwayne Esper, presenting itself as a study of a criminal obsessed with sexual urges. To give the story credibility, the film references Dr. William S. Sadler, a real-life mental health expert, but it mixes this pseudo-documentary style with sensational content. The plot follows a mentally unstable vaudeville actor who becomes entangled in disturbing events after witnessing a tragic death. The film gained notoriety for its shocking combination of sex and violence, with scenes designed to provoke audiences of the time. Despite its controversial content, Maniac remains historically significant as an early example of exploitation cinema, and Esper later continued in this genre with films like Marijuana. 6. Safe in Hell, 1931. Safe in Hell is a pre-code film directed by William Wellman, following Gilda Garlson, a woman forced into prostitution and accused of murder, as she struggles to survive in a dangerous world. Her journey takes her from New York to a remote tropical island, where threats follow her at every turn. The film is known for daring scenes, including moments showing actress Dorothy McHale's legs, which sparked controversy with censors. Wellman softened the story with touches of humor and light romance, balancing tension and drama. Safe in Hell became historically significant, influenced and standing as an early example of cinema exploring survival, desire, and morality. 7. Night Nurse, 1931. Night Nurse, directed by William Wellman, is a gripping pre-code story of danger and courage. Barbara Stanwyck plays a young nurse protecting two wealthy children from their negligent, alcoholic mother, Mrs. Ritchie, as a cruel plot threatens their lives. One of the conspirators, Nick the chauffeur, is played by a young Clark Gable before he became a Hollywood icon. The film portrays working-class realities, including candid moments highlighting the independence and pragmatism of women in the workforce, exemplified by Stanwyck and Joan Blondell. In contrast, Mrs. Ritchie, Nick, and Dr. Milton Ranger represent selfishness and corruption, reflecting the darker side of society during the Great Depression. Night Nurse remains a striking example of pre-code cinema, exploring morality, ethics, and characters navigating a world outside conventional law. 8. The Story of Temple Drake, 1933. The Story of Temple Drake is a pre-code drama adapted from William Faulkner's novel Sanctuary. The film follows Temple Drake, played by Miriam Hopkins, the daughter of a Mississippi judge, whose life is upended when she is kidnapped by the gangster Trigger, portrayed by Jack LaRue. In a dramatic climax, Temple kills Trigger in self-defense and returns to her family's home, navigating intense moral and social challenges. The story explores themes of survival, morality, and the pressures faced by women in the American South. Upon its release, the film caused controversy due to its mature content and source material. The Story of Temple Drake became a notable example influencing the Hays Code, as Hollywood moved to regulate films with adult and provocative themes. 9. Dr. X, 1932. Dr. X is an early 1930s horror film known for its striking visual style. It was filmed using a two-strip Technicolor process that gave the scenes a distinctive greenish tint, creating an eerie and unsettling atmosphere for audiences at the time. The film's story combines suspense, mystery, and classic horror elements, including unusual experiments and criminal intrigue. Set in New York City, the plot follows a series of bizarre murders attributed to the mysterious Moon Killer. Hard-boiled reporter Lee Taylor, played by Lee Tracy, investigates the crimes and soon focuses on Dr. Xavier, portrayed by Lionel Atwill, a respected doctor who runs a medical academy with his daughter, played by Fay Wray. As suspicion falls on Xavier, the tension builds and viewers are kept guessing about the true culprit behind the grisly murders. In a dramatic reveal, the real Moon Killer turns out to be a scientist obsessed with pushing the boundaries of medical experimentation, carrying out murders to study human tissue. While intense, the film avoids explicit sexual content, allowed it to reach audiences more widely than some of its pre-code contemporaries. Dr. X remains remembered today for its unique visuals, suspenseful story, and contributions to early American horror cinema. 10. Red-Headed Woman, 1932. Red-Headed Woman, directed by Jack Conway, stands out among early 1930s films for its bold approach to sexuality. Unlike many movies of the time that hinted at romance or used euphemisms, this film presents its central character, Lil Andrews, played by Jean Harlow, as a woman who openly uses her charm and attractiveness to achieve her goals. Throughout the story, Lil manipulates situations to her advantage, including breaking up a marriage and pursuing several romantic entanglements, showing a strikingly frank portrayal for its era. What makes Red-Headed Woman unique is its refusal to punish Lil for her actions. While many pre-code films ended with a fallen woman learning a moral lesson, Lil rides off in a limousine, unrepentant and unapologetic. Her boldness mirrors the cinematic gangsters of the period, who also justify their actions as a way to overcome social and economic limitations. The film faced heavy scrutiny from censors. It contained a brief nude scene and underwent multiple cuts, 17 in total, before it could be fully released in the United States. Just 2 years earlier, the stricter enforcement of the Hays Code would have made a film like this impossible to produce, making Red-Headed Woman a notable example of pre-code Hollywood's daring storytelling. Early 1930s Hollywood pushed boundaries like never before. These pre-code films shocked, fascinated, and shaped cinema history. Subscribe for more old Hollywood stories.